During peak air travel times in the United States, there are about 5,000 airplanes in the sky every hour, which is about 50,000 aircraft operating in our skies every day. From the time the plane pushes back from the gate until it arrives at the gate of its final destination, it is being handled by air traffic controllers. These controllers must coordinate the movements of thousands of aircraft, keep them at safe distances from each other, and direct them during takeoff and landing from airports. Air traffic controllers are also responsible for directing aircraft around bad weather and ensuring that traffic flows with minimal delay for both commercial and private aircraft. And I spoke with Gary Laurel from NASA Langley to find out how it works.
An air traffic controller is primarily tasked with separating airplanes. However, they do provide other services such as traffic advisories, weather information, and other status types of information for the National Airspace System.
What are some of the tools used by air traffic controllers?
The primary tool used by controllers for separation services is called radar, which stands for radio detection and ranging. And essentially what happens is from an antenna, a radio beam is transmitted, it bounces off the aircraft and is returned to the radar antenna. And there's a presentation on the radar display of which your position is based on that return. You can see behind us there's a display which is part of the radar system that controllers use, and your position as well as the position of other aircraft in the system will be presented on display and give the information the controller needs to provide air traffic services to you.
So, does one controller handle my plane while it's in the air?
There are a number of controllers that will handle your flight as you move throughout the system. Once you depart, your flight will be handed off to yet another controller, and that process continues throughout the duration of your flight. The primary delineation of what a controller is responsible for in a radar environment is called a sector. So as a controller works you through his or her sector, you'll be transferred to another sector where another controller will work you.
All right, so Gary, wait, walk me through this. What happens from departure to arrival, from gate to gate?
Assuming there aren't any delays, you'll taxi out to your departure runway, and there's a controller that issues taxi instructions and deconflicts you from other airplanes on the ground. There's a controller that will issue a takeoff clearance for you, and yet another controller that will work you as you're climbing to your cruise altitude. As a matter of fact, several controllers. As airplanes move from one sector to the next, there's a transfer of what we call control, and there's a transfer of communications, so that you'll be in communications with each controller along the way. And this process continues all the way to your destination airport, and you may talk to 10 or 15 different controllers en route to your destination. Prior to descending into the terminal area at your destination airport, there are several controllers involved in sequencing you inbound to that airport and assigning the arrival runway. Once you get there, you'll land, you'll taxi clear the runway, and you'll be issued taxi instructions. They'll take you right to your gate, but that's basically how the process works.
Wow. And I thought that the pilot was in control of the whole flight.
Well, the pod is ultimately responsible for the safe operation of his or her airplane.
Yeah.
However, they are required to adhere to air traffic control instructions. Just like when you're driving your car, there are certain signs along the way that basically tell you what you're required to do. As you get to a busy intersection, you may have to slow the car down. If there's a red light, you have to stop because you're trying to accommodate other cars, because you're not the only car out there. And that's pretty much the way your air traffic control system works. Sure. There are control instructions that are issued because you're not the only airplane out there.
Do you get tickets?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So in the future, will air traffic control be much different than it is today?
I think so. We're of course not building more airports. We're not building many more runways either, so we have to optimize the use of the facilities that we currently have. And to that end, NASA is looking at cutting-edge concepts and technologies to make better utilization of those facilities, both in terms of capacity, that is to say the number of airplanes you can get in and out of an airport at a given time, and safety as well. And these are just some of the concepts that have been explored by NASA and continue to be explored.
Really? I got a question. How do you change the channel on this? I mean, do you have cable on this thing?